Okay, another couple of minutes. Just kidding. If everybody could find their seats. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience getting started. Hello and welcome to the Stop the Hermantown Data Center Group's AI Data Center Education and Awareness event. My name is Clarissa, and I have the pleasure of being your MC this evening. The Stop the Hermantown Data Center Group is a nonpartisan grassroots organization sharing a common goal to raise awareness about significant impacts to the city of Duluth, Hermantown, Superior, Proctor, Rice Lake, and other surrounding communities if this massive hyperscale data center proposed for construction in Hermantown continues. The city of Hermantown neighbors several small farmland communities and shares the vast beauty and might of the Great Gitchigumi, Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake in the world by surface area that we are surrounded by this evening. Tonight, in the hopes of raising awareness, the Stop the Hermantown Data Center Group has convened a great roster of speakers to share information on the impact of data centers on communities like ours. There are no allegiances in this room, and the purpose tonight is to provide education through facts and empower friends and neighbors to be involved in what you want for your community. We thank each and every one of you for sharing your time by attending this event on the shores of Lake Superior on this very, very hot, humid day. You are the heartbeat of this community. You are the faces and the voices that make up this beautiful area. You are the land protectors. You are the water keepers of this region, and this topic affects each and every one of us. We want to extend our gratitude to the elected representatives and special guests from the region who have joined us here tonight. Your presence this evening is warmly appreciated. We ask that all attendees remain respectful and open to information. Please feel free to gather any informational materials provided by the event organizers and share those with your friends and your neighbors. We hope again that anyone wanting to ask questions were able to submit those through the QR codes posted at the ballroom entrance, circulated prior to the event in the flyers, or by QR code behind me on the screen. Again, consider supporting local efforts by visiting the website at stopthehermantowndataCenter.org and visiting the Facebook page with the same name. Again, if you're so inclined, a donation for tonight's event expenses would be greatly appreciated to offset costs and to continue to bring awareness to this issue. We ask you to please keep these conversations going, continue to request transparency and honesty from your elected officials and local decision makers, and help protect our beautiful lands and our clean waters. And with that, now on to the main event. We first have a surprise guest appearance tonight by Mary Mack. She is a nationally known comedian with deep roots in the Hermantown area. She has ties to Stebner Road, which she'll talk about, and Duluth, and she's here to get us started tonight. So let's give her a nice, warm Minnesota welcome back home. And here she is.
Oh boy, wow. Hey guys, thanks so much for coming out. I am not a professional. I am here to provide some levity, okay? My grandparents were the Stebners, and my great-grandparents, and Stebner Park was their farm, and so they made a great blood sausage. I don't know, okay? Pretty good. Had a wonderful wilted spinach party every year. My grandpa lived on Anderson Road in Hermantown. Leonard Carlson, he was the inebriated Brock's candy man. If you saw a striped, cute truck in the ditch, that was my grandpa. All right. My mom grew up in Morgan Park, and boy, yeah, I know Duluth stubborn. I know Duluth stubborn. And that's why I'm like, oh, if anybody can fight a data center, it's Duluth. Old school Duluth. Yes. Man. My mom bent only once in her life. She started mental therapy at the age of 83. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I really admire somebody who can say, you know what, something's not been right for like 70 years. I'm thinking about doing something about it. And she did it. And then, we didn't think it was going to last because she is old school Duluth. Like, she never even had yogurt before, too spicy. So, really, but she tried one, she came back, and she goes, do you know what that gal had the nerve to ask me? I get in there, she says, how many cups of coffee did you have today? What business of hers is it how many cups of coffee I had today? I'm like, oh, things are gonna get harder. She might ask you how you're doing next time, Ma. That's second session material in Duluth, Minnesota. You know, how's it going today, Jan? None of your crap damn business. Oh, okay, that'll be $200. I dreamt, I had this wonderful dream that I had the world's best mental therapist. Pretty cool. I'm pretty neat. I could have dreamt I didn't need therapy. Guys, people can fly in their dreams. People have superpowers, not me. Like, people can fly to the moon, not me. I'm still taking the bus to counseling, right? Like, if I can do it, I can dream it. That's my motto. Okay, all right. I'm making your brains work for Charlie coming up next here. Young people, thanks for being here. I'm out there in the, I see some young people, okay? I'm out there with the octogenarians in Superior holding my sign up. I've got compression socks on just to make it through the hour of the protest. Guys, I've been ravaged by time, okay? Every day a compression. It's not fun, okay? I try to hike them up like a sexy lymphatic schoolgirl. I try. It's not sexy. My husband calls them depression socks. But I'm still out there and I'm doing it. So look at how young you are. Thank you for being out there. I'll tell you what, it's hard to age as a lady, okay? I got a mole on my face, keeps sprouting out of hair. My God, I cut it, it sprouts. I cut it, it sprouts. It's like mowing the yard, okay? I can't keep up. I'm thinking about getting a neighbor kid to cut it. You know? And, girl, first, before I forget to tell you, I did find a bunch of wonderful, I found a lot of compression socks at an estate sale in Duluth. Yeah, very exciting, but they're very expensive. But I do want to warn you, when you buy a used compression sock, it's a lot just like buying a regular sock, okay? It's a loose fit, guys. Okay, I'll steer my jokes another direction. Big birthday year for me. What is your name, miss? Heather, and where do you live? Hermantown. Good, thank you for being here. Thanks for putting the work in. You look young. This is a big year for me. Private birthday. That's what my number is. It's a private number. Yes. My husband are celebrating with his and hers colonoscopies. Exciting. We're doing it. We're getting couples colonoscopies, guys. It's easy. You can go to Colonoscopy Envy. You can get a punch card, okay? Yeah, I'm getting the hot stone colonoscopy. Very, very relaxing. My husband's getting the Swedish colonoscopy. It's a gentler touch, and you get pickled herring at the end. So that's nice. It's nice. You gotta embrace it. You gotta embrace it. You know, it never stops. This compression socks and all that. It's just part of the medical lingerie you gotta learn to love as you get older. What's your name, miss? Madison, get ready for this, okay? Seriously, my husband, we're trying to embrace it and enjoy getting older. The other day he used a old hernia belt as a loincloth. Isn't that neat, Madison? Yeah. I was like, I know what's under there. That was risque for the data center meeting. My God. Yeah, below the belt, but who knows? Thank you, sir. What's your name? Fred, where do you live? Munger. Oh my God, you merged? Thanks. Thanks for getting on the highway. Did you know my cousins Lois and Jim Carr in Munger? Yeah, I bet you they did. Anyways, guys, I'm super stoked that we'll close on one thing. I'm just providing a little laughter. I'm so glad you're here and doing what you can do. My mom, also stubborn Duluth. Here's what she wouldn't eat yogurt, but she loved Meatloaf Monday. Meatloaf Monday at the bar. Oh God, she loved it. Do you have Meatloaf Monday at the bar here? You do? See? Yeah, I grew up down in Burnett County. That we put wild rice in ours. That's our main spice. Yeah. We want everything to taste like a dead deer drugged through a swamp. It's nice. And then 96 degrees, it reminded me, 96 degrees, people would pile into my sister's bar for meatloaf. My God, I don't understand it. A hot, steaming side of mashed potatoes and a warm chunk of meatloaf. There's fog on the windows, and the children are writing, "Help me," in the condensation. I've never understood that. Like, I've never eaten meatloaf on a day like today and thought, oh, that was refreshing. Every time I eat meatloaf, I'm like, this is how I'm gonna feel right when I die. This is it. Weighted down, hard to move. Get me a gravy IV stat. All right, we are ready and we are warmed up, and I am so excited to be here. I will bring Clarissa back up, and she's gonna bring up one of our comedy advocates for the data center. You're right there. Did you see this gal sneak up on me like that? Thanks, Clarissa, for being ready. All right, cheers, everybody. Hang in there. You can do it. Thank you.
All right, let's give it up for Mary Mack, everyone. Welcome home. Now on to the main event. Our first speaker tonight likely needs little introduction and is one of my favorite Wisconsin neighbors. Charlie Berens is a comedian, New York Times bestselling author, Emmy-winning journalist, and host of the Manitowoc Minute. Charlie has been a leading voice in Wisconsin calling for transparency and community involvement in data center development and advocating that residents decide what's best for their community when these developments enter the scene. Now everyone, let's give Charlie a warm welcome of Minnesota Nice.
Hello, how you guys doing? Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, this doesn't come out of there. Son of a gun. All right. Nice. Okay. All right. This one doesn't work. All right. Does that work? No, there it goes. It works. How are you guys? Nice to see you. Where are my Packers fans at? Yes, that's what I'm talking. Don't look sad at me, Vikings fans. Don't look sad, okay? Look, we'll get this out of the way. Where are the Bears fans at? First of all, I love that you brought a cheesehead to this. That is fantastic right there. Yep, no, love you right back. Love you right back. To my Bears fan who raised their hand, though, are you guys excited that you're moving to Indiana or no? Oh, I hope you do. I hope you. I wasted so much money on the Indiana Bears suck shirts. I need a return on investment. Okay, I even paid to trademark IBS and everything. I am ready to go. Okay, what's going on with me? I went to get some new glasses earlier in the day. Or earlier in the week, and the glasses salesperson was like, "You should try the new AI glasses by Meta. They have cameras on them." And I says, "Oh, no. I'm sorry, I'm not a pervert." Like, are you kidding me? You think I want the Meta AI glasses with the cameras on? Do you know how insulting that is? That's like going to get a car and the car dealer's like, have you tried the windowless cargo van with the coloring books on the inside? What? No, I don't want that. I mean, the first time I saw these Meta AI glasses in the wild, you guys, I was at the gym, okay? And there was a guy walking through the locker room with those Meta AI glasses on. You don't know when those are recording. And we are in the locker room of the YMCA. Do you know what happens in the locker room of a YMCA, the men's locker room? Duluth, huh? I'll tell you what happens in the locker room of the YMCA. It's a bunch of boomers with their peckers out. The YMCA men's locker room is an oasis for boomer peckers. Gen Z and millennials, they're not going peckers out. No, they're putting their stuff on underneath the towel. They're shy, not the boomers. They're standing there belly to belly, pecker to pecker. They got coffee, you guys. They got a box of donuts they are sharing. They came there for a naked business meeting. And it's a beautiful thing. But it's only between those two fellas, you know? It's not meant for the Meta AI glasses to record that. Here's what I want to know. How much of our great American farmland is being destroyed for Meta data centers that are filled with just videos of boomer peckers? Hey there, lady. I got an applause before the act out. That's nice. All right, it's about to get weird because here's the act out. Okay, this is what's in Meta's AI data centers. Bunch of videos of just, hey there, Peter, how you doing? You still getting up every morning or no? Well, you know, some mornings better than other. Oh, look, here's Willie. Willie, was that shower cold? Shut up, Dick. I'm not Dick, I'm Peter. And that's when I realized how many men's names were actually wiener euphemisms. So, yeah, I need a therapist. I actually do. I have a therapist. His name's Larry, and he is a bartender. Yep. And I know some of you are judging me right now for having my bartender being a therapist, but do not judge me, okay? Because I know that there are some people out there using ChatGPT as a therapist. And that is a terrible idea, okay? ChatGPT stores all your data in some data center. It never gets rid of it. And then in 5 years, you're going to get blackmailed by a Roomba. Larry doesn't remember a damn thing you told him this time yesterday because he drinks the entire shift, okay? I mean, every single inquiry on ChatGPT uses something like a bottle of water. Larry does not drink water. You see the benefits here? Okay, they've some people say, but my ChatGPT understands me. My ChatGPT, your ChatGPT doesn't understand you. No, it just tells you what you want to hear, so you keep feeding it more data, so it can serve you ads for things you can't afford to buy because a robot just took your job. Saying ChatGPT understands me is like saying I just met the love of my life at Spearmint Rhino. That's a strip club. That was the joke right there. No, you didn't, Todd. Okay, you didn't meet the love of your life. Cinnamon with an S just gave you an extra lapper. Not because she loves you, she knows the PIN on your debit card. You understand? They've done these studies, and they found out in 95% of war games, the AI models are the best models we got. 95% war games, they choose nuclear war. Guys, these things could kill us if we let them around the nukes. Larry is never gonna hurt you. No, because Larry can't legally own a firearm. Not since the Christmas of '86, no way. Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Give yourselves a big round of applause for coming out here tonight. I want to give a special thanks to the elected officials that are here. Any elected officials, raise your hands. Thank you guys for coming out. All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'd also like to give a big thank you, a special thank you to the tradesmen. I know we have some tradesmen here, so thank you for helping build the future of Minnesota. Thank you. And we're here tonight for the tradesmen as well, for the union guys. You know, we want protections for your job. We want to make sure that your job doesn't get automated away as soon as big tech gets a chance. And you got to think about that. I know they say blue-collar jobs, they'll never get taken away, but look at how advanced these robotics have gotten. It's crazy. They're getting very close to human capabilities. Just the other day, I saw a robot it beat the human record for a half marathon. A robot. That is the most human thing you can do, is brag about not finishing a full marathon. It's ridiculous. But we are here tonight because we don't want big tech to decide the future of Minnesota. I want you guys to decide the future of Minnesota. And that's why we're here, okay? And some people have gotten a little upset with me from time to time saying, stick with comedy, you know? And I'm like, that's fine. I will stick with comedy. As soon as our politicians stick with policy and stop protecting big tech and start protecting the people that put them into office. Real good. I wrote pause for applause, so that worked. And if you look around this room tonight, though, this is one of the most inspiring things happening in America today. And it's happening across the country. Look around. You've got different people from different walks of life. This is what scares big tech, because this is the only thing their money can't buy. People coming together, talking face to face, different walks of life. This is the most bipartisan issue since beer. It is. You got Democrats here, you got Republicans, you got farmers, you've got hunters, you've got swingers. You have everybody that's right, swingers. Don't give me that look, Duluth. I have seen your pontoons, okay? Yeah, I'm not saying that all pontoon owners are swingers, but all swingers do own a pontoon. That's a fact. That's a fact. All right, that joke did well. Nice. But we're here tonight, and we are talking about Project Loon, okay? And I love loons. I gotta be honest with you guys. Speaking of loons, look, I got a little slide. I love listening to the sound of a loon. Listen to this. Okay. Or don't. Hang on. Yeah. Is it gonna play or no? Hang on, let me try putting that. Oh, this would have been really cool if it worked. Oh, there we go. Isn't that sweet? Yeah, these are loons. They're looking for their other little baby who went swimming around there. They'll find them, no worries. And yeah, and now we get to listen to one more video. We got the loons. Those are loons next to Project Loon. So that was a joke because data centers are loud. You're welcome. Thank you. And this part's coming later. You don't have to pay attention to it. But I just threw that up there just because the sound is an issue. And a lot of people, you know, they'll come at me and they'll be like, you know, you built your following online or whatever is kind of a hypocrite, you know. And they'll say that to you. They'll say if you use your phone, if you use online banking, if you use whatever, you're using a data center and you're a hypocrite to not want one in your backyard. But that's not really true, because an AI data center is very different from the traditional data center that we all know. A traditional data center, it uses different hardware than these hyperscale AI data centers. And comparing a traditional data center to a hyperscale AI data center, it's kind of like comparing a dog to a wolf, you know? Like, yeah, they both kind of look like a dog, but I wouldn't try to take a wolf to get neutered. That doesn't sound like a good idea. So, okay, good. We just want to make sure we're all on the same page with that. And there are a lot of pros and cons when it comes to these AI data centers. And as you're deciding whether or not to do this, you got to look at the pros and the cons. Like, yeah, AI could eliminate white-collar jobs. It could eliminate blue-collar jobs. The noise from the AI data centers can damage the human body. AI data centers could cover, according to Sam Altman, he does guess that a lot of the world gets covered in data centers over time. And the U.S. government is ramping up mass surveillance with the help of AI tech. And suicides. Yes, AI can lead to teen suicides. And yes, they can do blackmailing as well. Yes, that is possible. As I said before, in 95% of war games, AI models go nuclear. But you got to look at the pros, too. In the other 5%, they chose Settlers of Catan. So that's something. And another pro, I mean, these AI models are capable of making really impossible videos come to life. Like the other day, my buddy showed me this video. I never thought I'd see it, but he made a video on AI of the Vikings winning the Super Bowl. I was like, wow. That's crazy. Okay, real good. That got a good response. I was really worried about that. But look, most of us didn't ask for AI. I mean, can it do some amazing things? Yes. But without any guardrails, it can do bad things too. Okay, it's like fire. It's neither good nor bad. But if big tech is going to build a fire in our house, we've got to demand that they at least do us the service of building a fireplace first. And yeah, all right. Fireplace analogy worked. I like it. All right. But this is especially true when it comes to the economy. Like the only thing that's certain with AI is uncertainty. And right now, every financial headline is asking, is this a bubble? When is it going to pop? And when it does happen, what will happen to the land that we destroyed for the data centers? I mean, this is land that we used to farm, land we used to hike on, land we went to connect with a being that was higher than ourselves. And no, I'm not talking about the guys disc golfing, okay? Our land is part of what makes us who we are, and we have to protect it. And if we're gonna give it up, for something, we've got to make sure it's worth it. And right now, the best experts in the business can't decide if this is a bubble and it's worth it, if these hyperscale data centers is the way to do this. They still don't know. And as good as this technology ever can be, it can never create the things that we're destroying to get it. Can't create that. And so maybe instead of gambling the future of Hermantown on big tech's hype, wouldn't it make more sense to just put in a moratorium and wait and see? A pause wouldn't hurt anything. The opportunity's not going to go anywhere. The land is still going to be there. But at least you'll know if it's an actual viable economic model before you do it, because right now it's not proven. The companies are losing money and they haven't given anybody an indicator on how they can turn a profit with this stuff. We need to take back control, and that brings us to something that I think can help, and it's called TAP Beer. I think this can help. Yep, it's an acronym, okay? I came up with it. It stands for transparency, accountability, protections, and beer. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We'll start with transparency. No more NDAs, okay? If you got something you don't want anyone else to hear, you do what the rest of us do. We save it for Father Tom, okay? He hears, okay, Protestants, that's fine. He hears confessions every Tuesday night. You can tell him your trade secrets every Tuesday night at the Anchor, okay? Accountability. Our state and federal governments, they've failed us. They just have. I mean, the best our federal government did was get a pledge from big tech that they wouldn't raise our power bills with this build out. A pledge? Come on. We got to be real. This is the most powerful industry in the world. Best we can do is get them to pledge. Quick question. How many of us took a pledge and dare class? Yeah. Keep those hands up. How many of my Wisconsin people with their hands up didn't just come to Minnesota for a town hall tonight? You also came to do some grocery shopping. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. But when a company is worth more than some countries, what penalty is actually going to make them do the right thing instead of violate the law and pay the fine if they get caught? We need financial penalties that actually matter to big tech before these things are approved. And then protections. I mean, we need laws, because right now there aren't laws. Guys, there's more regulations on a bratwurst than the entire artificial intelligence community. A bratwurst. And don't even get me started on the cheese curd regulations, okay? But we need to demand to know what chemicals, what specific chemicals are these companies putting in the water. We need to know if they're using PFAS. We need to demand that we're not going to foot the bill for this AI build-out. We need to, thank you. We got to demand that there's no mass surveillance of U.S. citizens. Yeah, let's get rid of the flock cameras. I mean, what are we even doing with those things? The only mass surveillance that should be allowed is during deer season for trail cameras, and I should be the only one with the password. All right. That's fine. That's fine. We don't have to agree on everything, okay? But we should be able to opt out of the data these companies are able to collect. I think we got to step back and look at the bigger issue here, and I'm almost wrapping up. But the bigger issue is trust. If a company is going to ask us to sacrifice so much of our land and our water and the soul of our communities, we have to be able to trust that company. But tech companies, they have not given us much of a reason to trust them. I mean, just look at all the lobbying dollars that big tech has put into lobbying against the protection of children online. How can we trust these companies with the most powerful technology in the world if we can't even trust them to protect our kids over profit? The whole point of this is it's a very narrow path to developing a more intelligent thing, if they can. Let's say they can actually develop something that's more intelligent than all of humans. It's a very narrow path to make sure that that's done right to ensure our safety, to ensure the future of humanity. And AI companies, they need these data centers. But maybe before we decide to give our land and our water and our power, before we completely change the soul of our communities, they have to show us why we can trust them. They have to show us. And they got to put it in a contract, because we don't trust. And I do believe, though, that we can build a better future together, a future that we actually want to live in, a future where security doesn't mean mass surveillance, a future where if this world is truly covered in data centers, the most precious places on this planet will be the ones that protected the treasures God gave us and not the profits of billionaires. And I'll wrap on this. Big tech keeps saying they're doing this to build a warehouse of geniuses. But if you look around here tonight, we already have that. Every single person in this room has a genius inside of them. They have something to offer. Maybe it's a skill. Maybe it's donation. Maybe it's going out and talking to your neighbor. Whatever it is, we want your genius here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for contributing whatever you can. There's a QR code on there. And together, you guys, we can build the Midwest better. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you for the ovation. That was nice. It was the YMCA joke, wasn't it? Thank you, guys. You're too kind.
Truly amazing, right? Thank you, Charlie. Honestly, We're so grateful to have you with us in Duluth tonight. Next, we would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Rebecca Gilbertson. Dr. Gilbertson is a resident of Hermantown and associate professor of psychology at the University of Minnesota Duluth. Dr. Gilbertson completed her PhD in experimental psychology at the University of Kentucky and postdoctorate training in cognitive neuroscience at the University of Florida. Dr. Gilbertson teaches, conducts research, and educates others about brain, behavior, ethics, and mental health. Please give a warm welcome to our friend and neighbor, Dr. Rebecca Gilbertson.
Good evening. It's so nice to see so many neighbors and so many familiar faces. So bear with me as we sort of navigate slides. Briefly about myself. Like Carissa said, I'm a career academic. I'm a human laboratory scientist. I do use data centers professionally. We had a couple outages this past academic year. And so I'm aware of now Amazon Web Services. It's difficult to assign student grades when there's outages. One of those happened during finals week. And I am a Hermantown, Minnesota resident. I also want to say that we have, in the sort of pursuit of that academic career, we've lived in Kentucky and Florida and in Pennsylvania. And when I was in Pennsylvania, we lived near Tioga County. And folks who might be aware, between 2010 and 2014, Tioga County was there was an extractive gas industry, and so I watched the effects of the Marcellus Shale drilling, okay, and watched what that did to housing, what that did to the environment. I chose not to include slides because I don't want to sort of confuse the issue between that and data centers. But over the past 7 or 8 months, I am absolutely convinced that this is an extractive industry. And a neighbor asked recently, the neighbor said, well, now what are they extracting? And my response was land. So when the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy has been marvelous. Catherine Hoffman is their CEO. She said the efforts to keep the proposed Hermantown data center a secret, revealed in documents obtained by public data requests, are some of the most extreme examples we found of keeping the public in the dark about a data center. I wanted to talk a little bit about why Hermantown residents object. And I wanted to take a moment and just thank those individuals who helped develop these slides. We've talked, we've listened to each other over the course of months. There are many, many concerns about this proposed data center. These are some of those concerns, but they're not all of them, okay? So we'll be talking about government secrecy, inappropriate siting, and the environmentally sensitive location. So first, the government secrecy. I think we're all aware, but maybe for newer individuals in the room, the project was actually introduced to the residents on September 23rd, 2025. So if you look in the middle of your screen, nope, let's make that come back. If you look in the middle of the screen, the Star Tribune broke the story. They actually had to do a Data Practice Act request themselves in order to write that newspaper article. The Star Tribune reporter has been marvelous, just in sort of helping us understand what exactly this project entails. And then there have been several sort of media hits, as it were, some of which are on the screen. But I remember sitting at my kitchen table, and I want you to raise your hand. So when I say that date, September 23rd, 2025, raise your hand if you remember where you were when you found out about the proposed, right? Hyperscale data center. Yeah. So it's not just me, but I remember exactly where I was the moment. And thankfully, my neighbor reads the Star Tribune. I don't. So what's been happening in Hermantown? We do have timelines. There's an extensive timeline on our website. Some of the dates that I wanted to point out, and I want to also put a shout out to individuals who have helped develop this timeline. So maybe if we can, I don't want these folks, not to have them raise their hands, but maybe let's just go ahead and clap for the individuals. Yeah. So this is like 1,600 pages plus 6,000 additional pages of Data Practice Act requests. This is not a small amount of work by any stretch of imagination. Couple dates to point out to folks. NDAs were signed spring of 2024. We know that across St. Louis County, there were 22 NDAs signed. Please keep in mind that does not include landowners. It also does not include maybe some others that were not included in that article, like the water treatment facility. September, so the following September in the fall, the mayor is informed of the proposed hyperscale data center project. Couple other dates that stand out to our group. These are kind of highlights, and I'm moving quickly. September 21st, 2025. If you're new, encourage you to get onto the City of Hermantown website and look at September 21st, 2025. Ask yourself the question, had there been full disclosure, April 21st, 2025, how things would be different today. I'm going to continue moving on. One other date, and then we'll leave this, but October 20th and 21st. So October 20th, 2025, the city rezoned 200 acres. The residents exceeded the fire code. There were 300 people that attended the meeting in opposition. I remember that night. How many folks remember or were in, city, yep. And I remember trying to get individuals in that we needed to speak that night, and how, like, I myself was willing to go outside to get another person in to make sure that we were underneath the fire code. They were watching that really carefully. The project continues to this day, and we understand that the City of Hermantown website is not up to date yet in terms of how this project continues. I'm going to move on. The next thing we need to talk about is inappropriate siting. So the way that we've described this is that this project came to the Adolph neighborhood, like the Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. So this is the data center. These are the residents. And yes, that does cause one to gasp and maybe pause. So what we know is that there are residential dwellings that are actually in the project footprint itself. We understand that the proposed hyperscale data center was sited immediately adjacent to the substation. That substation has 99% reliability. We heard that from Google when they attended our city council meeting. And that's the siting that they did. So maybe alternative. You ask yourself the question about alternative sites. This actually comes from Google itself, where they're literally showing the data center next to the substation. So residents. The other thing I wanted to point out, and this gets a little bit sensitive talking about individuals that are actually with residential dwellings or houses that are actually within the project footprint. That seems to be unique to our project, and then along the perimeter. So this is from the AUAR, or our environmental review document showing the future industrial zone. They forgot the residents that are surrounding the periphery. I think we can boo that. Can we boo that? Thank you. Let's boo that. The other thing that continues, and I did not, so we've lived in the city of Hermantown for 12 years. I did not fully appreciate the significance of Lake Superior. I sat with an individual who helped me understand the St. Louis River watershed for 2 hours. I sat with that individual. Still didn't understand it until the spring, when I was able to go to maybe like the Spirit Mountains ski area and hear the trickling water. This project is within the St. Louis River watershed. It's an EPA area of concern. It's close to being delisted because of all the good work, right? In terms of like cleaning up, and some of you are really nodding at this point. Cleaning up that St. Louis River watershed, it's close to being delisted. And it really has no business being here. The number of acres of wetland also are a concern, and that's depicted in the slide to your left. Thankfully, we're making a record. So the Star Tribune again, but the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency mapped the Midway River watershed, and we know that, and this has been talked about extensively, that the proposed site is in between two trout streams. Not the best place either for a data center. I think one of the questions that I had, Midwest, our topography is different here in the state of Minnesota, isn't it? And I wonder if anybody double checked the topography. Like, is this conducive for data center development, really? Maybe you wonder that too. I feel like here in the state of Minnesota, you step backwards and you're in a lake, right? Yeah, yep, or some type of body of water. 2 final slides, 2 ideas to leave you with. The first is an idea of environmental justice, and this is a newer one. For folks who are in our group, this is the first time that we've spoken about environmental justice. I'm going to go ahead and read the definition. So environmental justice refers to all people, regardless of their race, color, national origin, or income, benefit from equal levels of environmental protection, that pollution does not disproportionately impact any group of people, and that everybody has opportunities to participate in decisions that may affect their environment or health. And I am increasingly convinced, so we don't meet the statutory requirements as an environmental justice community, but I am increasingly convinced that this is an environmental justice issue. If you read the definition there, this absolutely applies to our community, doesn't it? Yeah, yes, yep, yes. Okay, the last thing that came through within the last 24 hours, so I continue to describe the proposed hyperscale data center in Hermantown as a continuously evolving situation on the ground. The last 2 came through in the last 24 hours. There are data center moratoriums that we're aware of in the state of Minnesota. Mankato, I believe, enacted theirs yesterday, right? So it was unanimous. And the significance of this is that for individuals who are with us on Rally Day, March 18th, at the Minnesota State Capitol, there is a senator by the name of Senator Frentz. That is his district. And Governor Walz is also from the Mankato area. The other thing that came through in the last 24 hours is the Minnesota Chippewa tribe also enacted a moratorium, which is really exciting. Yeah. And we're tracking how many moratoriums nationally, which is also, so this number, so there's basically like a movement that's happening that I have been convinced of since October 21st, that we need to join the data center moratorium movement, don't we? Yes, we do. Yep. These are some members of our group. I wanted to go ahead, put a shout out there, and then I'm going to turn this back to Clarissa. Thank you. Humbled to be here today.
Thank you, Rebecca. In the interest of time, so we are running behind and we want to be respectful of everybody, want to make sure you get home safely, watch for deer, all of that. The next would have been a video presentation on a live speaker, and that was Prescott Balch. We will have that video available on our website for you to view at your own convenience. Please do so. Wealth of knowledge, really intriguing. Wish we had the time. It's really, really important. And so really, please go to our website and watch that video. Highly encourage it. But in the interest of making sure everybody gets home safely and we stay closer to schedule, I'll just introduce our next speaker. That's Ms. Lori Huntoon. She's a professional geologist, educator, and founder of the Huntoon Environmental Risk Advisors. Ms. Huntoon brings more than 25 years of experience in environmental and sustainability consulting, regulatory oversight, technical training, and science education. Ms. Huntoon's professional background includes providing solutions for municipalities, state and federal agencies, nonprofit groups, and others through strategic planning efforts and environmental responsibility. Please welcome Ms. Lori Huntoon.
I'm so short. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm from Wisconsin, but I love Duluth. So in my heart, I feel like this is where I should be living. It's so gorgeous here. So I'm here to speak to you tonight about environmental issues and also about water. I'm a licensed professional geologist with the state of Wisconsin, license number 8. That makes me really, really old. I used to think it was a great thing, but... And so I've spent the last 30 years working with industry and working with communities on environmental issues and regulatory compliance. And so what I am is an experienced geologist. What I am not is someone who's against development. I'm not against data centers. I'm not against development. I'm not against industry. But it needs to be done responsibly. And it needs to be done in the right place and the right time. And these data centers that are coming out, that they're just putting in anywhere in the middle of a neighborhood, these are not the places that these data centers should be. Oh, I'm controlling my own slides. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk about environmental issues with data center development, a local perspective, because every data center is different. Down where I live in Rock County, southern Wisconsin, we have four, maybe 5 now, data centers proposed in our county. And every single one of them has a different environmental setting and different environmental issues that we need to be concerned about. So we're going to talk about all of these things. We don't need to read through it because you're going to be hearing about it, so I'm just going to skip ahead. So hyperscale data centers, what is it? Like, we all know data centers. We know that, like, where we work or when we went to school, there was that closet with that little bit of a hum and had to have a fan on it because we had to keep it cool. That was a data center. That's great. But these hyperscale data centers, they're a completely different beast. They have miles and miles of piping, thousands of valves, and they use massive amounts of fluid. So as they get larger, like these hyperscale centers, the risk of leaks in these small systems that are keeping all of those parts cool, that increases significantly. We'll be talking more about that. We're going to talk about the closed loop system. What you'll hear is, oh, it's okay. There's no water issues. There's no problem. There's no contamination because we have a closed loop system. That's not true. I've been told that the closed loop system won't be flushed for 10 years. I have a hard time believing that. And I'm a geologist, not an engineer, so I know my place. But I've talked to mechanical engineers that I've worked with, and usually you have to flush a system a lot more routinely than that. They don't know. They're just throwing out these terms and these dates. And that's the concern I have, is that if another business came into your area, they would be telling us what they're going to be putting in, what it's going to look like. They're going to have drawings. They're going to have schematics. We're going to know exactly what's being done, what water's being removed, where the wastewater's going. And in these cases, they just keep saying, we're not sure, we're not sure. Oh, it's going to be a closed-loop system. But we don't know, is it completely a closed-loop system? And again, those miles of piping, we know, could create tremendous leaks that would end up really contaminating the groundwater. So here we go, closed-loop systems, they estimate about 70,000 gallons a day. Again, this is you know, it's a 200-acre site, is it a 400-acre site, is it a 600-acre site? We don't have any details, and it's hard to have a debate when the other side isn't giving you any facts. The water demand includes evaporation and blowdown. You have to humidify the internal components, the flushing, periodic water replacement, because you will lose some to evaporation. You have the on-site power generation. Charlie mentioned the diesel or gas turbines. And then you have the construction phase water use, which is enormous. So a lot of this water use, when they tell you this is all we're going to use, there's a lot of indirect water use that we need to ask more questions about. Also, the massive heat loads. I'm not going to go into this, but you'll hear about it and you can read about it. Ask AI, but ask them about the heat islands. You know, it's kind of interesting because I'll ask AI, like, you know, tell me about the concerns with the data center, hyperscale data center. And then I'll say, what else didn't you tell me that you could tell me? And then I'll say, what other concerns have you not mentioned? And I just keep digging down, and it keeps coming up with more and more and more. Sorry, Charlie, that was a lot of water I used for that question. But I'll go with beer next time. So the closed loop systems, the other thing is they're 30 to 50% glycol. They don't tell you that. They make you think it's just water. We're from the north. We know that you aren't going to have these systems running in the middle of winter that aren't going to freeze. So they're going to have glycol, 30 to 50%. They're going to say it's going to be propylene glycol, which is safer. It's like the radiator fluid you have in your car. But there's also ethylene glycol, which is a lot more serious, a lot more damaging to the environment. And they, you know, I have no science to base this on, but my guess is they'll say they're going to use propylene glycol, but our winters are getting more and more harsh. They're going to have to go to the ethylene glycol, and they're just going to say, oh, you know, oh, we had a switch. I mean, these are the things that we need to be concerned about. We need to ask questions. We need to be prepared for. They're both hazardous for the environment, but the ethylene glycol, if it gets into the surface water, if it gets into the river, into the streams, it takes the oxygen out, and it just immediately kills all those ecosystems. So we do have to be concerned about these things. So specific water issues with data center development are the withdrawal volumes. So how much water are they going to withdraw, and from where? The thermal pollution. When they put this back into the water, if it goes through a wastewater treatment system, ends back up in the river or in a lake, stormwater into a stream, the temperature, are they going to ensure that the temperature is correct so that the temperature alone doesn't create issues with the ecosystems? The water quality and contaminant discharge, this is what I've spent my life on, is going into an area and determining, you know, most people don't contaminate intentionally, but we find out after the fact that, oh, geez, you know, my dad used to say they would just rinse parts with TCE, trichloroethylene, and they would just rinse parts with their hands, and now we know it's incredibly toxic, and you shouldn't do that. But back then, they didn't know, so we'll find areas where they might have had a disposal of TCE. That's what we do for a living. In this case, we know what it is. Don't put it there. Right? I mean, it's contamination. We know that there's going to be releases. We need to just really have more information. Groundwater impacts, when they withdraw water and you have a well and they pull the water out, it's kind of like when you suck on a straw really hard and you get that little cone of depression. Well, depending on how much water they're withdrawing, your well could end up being somewhere where the water level goes below where your pump is, which means you're not getting any water. And so one of the things I recommend to you is if you have a well in this area, you want to make sure that you are documenting what your yield is and your volume. Just have somebody come out, you can time it, you can look it up, how to do it. Make sure that you maybe send a sample in for some analysis so that after the fact, if need be, you have a class action suit and you can demonstrate what happened after they came in. Hopefully you won't need to do that, but that's how we have to have the before and after so you can prove it. Stormwater and impervious surface, you know there's going to be flooding issues because these huge data center buildings are going to now not allow the groundwater or the water when it rains to percolate into the ground. So it's going to have to run off that surface, the paved surfaces, the roofs. And when they have emissions into the air on those roofs, that water is going to sit on the roofs, collect some of that contamination, and that's going to run off into the grass, into the streams. And so that's another route for contamination. And then the regulatory gaps in enforcement. The real issue I have here is that any other business, if you were bringing a business into this area, you would have to follow certain regulatory requirements. You would have to make sure that the Army Corps of Engineers determines jurisdiction for the wetlands that are on site. You'd have to talk to Fish and Wildlife Service about your endangered species. These data centers are getting kind of a pass. Do not pass, go. It's been a long time since I played Monopoly, but they're just getting fast tracked, and that's just not right. Why should somebody from out of state come in and be able to plop down a business and not go through the same regulatory requirements that you would have to? So very quickly, some of the potential contaminants. We have hydrofluorocarbons that we know we're going to use, they use in cooling systems and data centers. We have PFAS, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more. We have common additives, so that closed-loop system is going to have corrosive inhibitors. It's going to have biocides. Those things aren't good for the environment. Your fuel and chemical storage tanks, you're going to have issues with the potential leaks with those. And then, again, we already talked about glycol. So per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, okay, I could talk about this for an hour, but I promise I won't. PFAS is the short term, and that's the forever chemicals that you're hearing about on the news. That's the chemicals that are a carbon and fluorine bond. That's about as much chemistry as you're getting from this geologist. And it's a very, very strong bond that doesn't break down in nature. It's really difficult to even break down in remediation systems. And for instance, DuPont made the pans. If you watch the great movie called Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo, the hottie from Wisconsin, and you watch that movie, they talk about DuPont and how they knew that PFAS was causing problems. They took women of childbearing age off the line because they knew that it was causing cancer and other issues. So they left Teflon, they stopped manufacturing it, and they started a new company in North Carolina, and they called it Gen X. And it turns out that Gen X PFAS is worse than the PFAS that was in DuPont in West Virginia, because it's a shorter chain, harder to get rid of. So anyway, PFAS is a big issue. There could be leaks in those closed-loop systems. Again, every time you have a little, any of you that work with piping, you know that where you get a little bend in the pipe is a likely area where you might have corrosion, you might have a leak over time. Well, just picture this building with 25 miles of quarter-inch to maybe several feet piping, all different sizes, that are bending and turning to get into all these different little areas with those electrical components. You have a lot of chance for a lot of leaks that may not be found because it's very difficult to monitor for years. So again, the PFAS issue is a real concern. And you have the toxic runoff from the roofs. As I mentioned, if the exhaust, it goes into the air. And then you have stored e-waste. When these data centers are done, I've heard that by the time they build the first building, it's already essentially out of date. So they're going to start building the second one right away and on and on. But when they do have to turn around and replace those parts, those e-waste parts are also very toxic. So here I'm going to go through this really quick. Take a look, all of you, please. This is your homework. You're going to go online and you're going to find that draft alternative area-wide review from June 2026. This is what this is from. The one picture shows the existing cover on the land. Second one shows the proposed cover. You can see the lakes, the wetlands, the grass area, the trees they're going to put these buildings on top of. This is going to cause a huge issue with all kinds of environmental concerns. Again, this is all right there. They've already determined this. This has already been defined by their consultant, Braun Intertech, which is a good company, and they did a good job of this report identifying these concerns. Here's a couple questions. The wastewater volume issue causes me some concern, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, but they say in one case that both systems, the closed loop or air-cooled system, will not withdraw groundwater or surface water. No production wells, high-capacity wells, dewatering systems. They're not going to pull any water, which does not make any sense to me. But then they also say the development is going to generate 50,000 gallons per day of wastewater. How do you get 50,000 gallons per day of wastewater if you're not bringing water in? So I realize that it probably was, maybe I read it wrong, but disconnect, but these are the disconnects that you all need to be asking your officials. What is the real answer? And where's the water coming from? And where's that 50,000 gallons per day going to go? We're going to talk about that. The Minnesota DNR has recognized that groundwater and surface water are hydraulically connected. Essentially what that means is that when you have your wetlands, you have your surface water, your rivers, your streams, those are hydraulically connected to groundwater. So the contamination in the surface water will connect and get into the groundwater. If you have a well in that groundwater aquifer, you're going to be drinking that contamination. They also say, so they admit that it's hydraulically connected. Then they also say they're going to have a series of 8 filtration basins for the stormwater. So you're going to take this 50,000 gallons per day, apparently, put it in these filtration basins because you know that the poor soils in the nearby trout streams aren't able to take care of it. And we already know it's hydraulically connected to the groundwater because they said it in a different part of the report. Plus, we know that because I told you, and it's true. And so these are, again, issues that they brought up themselves. The information's right there, but it doesn't make any sense. Again, this is a copy of that draft alternative urban area-wide review. You need to take a look at that. Some things, the importance of the surface water bodies and stormwater management should be emphasized with the Minnesota PCA. Jurisdiction of wetlands by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They have not determined the jurisdiction yet. We want them to determine that they have jurisdiction, that Section 7, just believe me, it's a thing that we have to do, requires that they do a full environmental impact statement. Thank you. And then this just shows, you can't read it, but trust me, it's there and it's in that same report that you're all going to go home and read. This shows you that there's all of these different migratory birds that are on the property that use the habitat. And so this is essentially the months across the top, and it shows when these birds are found on that property. I tried to make the circle as close as I could to that site. And those are birds that we know are their habitat or their mating on this area. We're not going to talk about mating. Charlie already covered YMCA. But this is, they're there, and it's a concern. If I go back, I got to go back really quick. They said woodland, 132-ish acres now, 37 when they're done. So now you go back to, there, I just lost it. There we go. Okay. Now we go back to the, where are they going to go? Like, you can't plant enough in those little areas that you're going to keep those birds coming there. So this is a concern. And they're all endangered or threatened. So the watershed, I want to just talk really quick. I'm almost done. Hermantown straddles 2 major water basins, the Lake Superior South and the St. Louis River Basin. This means that the water in this area kind of stays within this area, and then it collects into those streams, and then it goes down the rivers. So then you have the Midway River watershed, which is your local watershed, and it originates in your wetlands. That watershed originates in Hermantown's wetlands and flows in the St. Louis River and Lake Superior. Why are we even talking about this, right? I mean, this is not the place for this. So last slide. Here are some questions you can ask your developers, your local officials, and your regulators. What is the source of water, that water that said they're not going to use for the site, and what is the energy source? Because a lot of times they won't mention the energy source that uses water, right? So your additional energy that is being put on for the data centers, it's going to require water. So ask them, okay, you're telling me the data center's not using water. Well, how much is the energy source using? Because that's the same thing. It's part of the same system. What is the design water use and volume? The cooling system requires occasional flushing. What's the anticipated engineering design? What's the design for the cooling system, and what type and amounts of glycol? What are the plans for discharge? Again, they talk about those filtration basins. You got to get more information about that. And how are they going to be monitored? Has a water impact assessment been completed? Has the contingency plan for spills and floods been prepared? What pre-development monitoring are they going to pay for, right? Not you shouldn't have to. They should be paying for some pre-development monitoring. And then they should pay for some long-term monitoring. And you know what? They should also pay for some citizen monitoring to be going along with that. So that's just a little bit to put bugs in your ear about the kinds of questions that you need to ask. This site is pristine. It's beautiful. There is absolutely no reason why a site like this should come here. There are other places it can go, and this isn't it. So anyway, best of wishes, and I'm really glad to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Scary stuff there, but things we need to know. So thank you so much for educating us on that. Next, we're pleased to provide a video presentation by Amanda Mueller of the town of Port Washington, Wisconsin. Ms. Mueller lives less than a half a mile from one of the largest data center construction sites in the country, the Vantage Oracle OpenAI hyperscale data center on the coast of Lake Michigan. This is what's coming if we allow it, right? So in this video, Ms. Mueller shares her experience of living with a data center during construction, the light, the noise, the dust, the chemicals emitted, as well as her experience living through a polar vortex in February of 2021, where people lost not only their power and water in below freezing temperatures, but also lost their lives, freezing to death without power while the data centers kept running through the storm. And so here it is.
Please welcome Amanda.
Way to go, Charlie.
Yep, that's good.
Doing too much.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I have a little history with data centers. I'm not a Wisconsinite. I got here as fast as I could. I come from San Antonio, Texas, and I live with 3 operating data centers. 24 hours, hustle, bustle, traffic. It's a concrete jungle, and it's also very hilly. Most of the data center effects, light, noise, air, were really absorbed by city life. Vibration and the fact that they use huge quantities of our precious water, unless you were close to them, they really went unnoticed. February 13th, 2021, it was 82 degrees, which is normal, the day before. An unusual lob of cold air was descending from the north, a polar vortex, Winter Storm Uri. For 4 days, we were between 8 and 13 degrees, 6 to 9 inches of snow. For those of you who are not familiar with southern Texas, we have palm trees. Most of us don't own socks. My house inside was 34 degrees. I had frost on my interior walls. We had no power or water for 4 days, and radio silence from many governing bodies. They said we lost 300 souls. It was more. They just rolled the deaths into COVID numbers. So Texas has an independent electric grid run by ERCOT. It was not winterized and it could not handle the overwhelming load. So to avoid long-term damage, it was shut down. The only power remaining was for emergency services, police, fire, hospitals. When you looked out over the landscape, there was little pockets of lights and 3 glowing domes of lights. At first, we assumed generators were in use, and then it was discovered the generators were never turned on, that the data centers had bypassed the grid and were on the emergency services grid. Residents froze, but Bitcoin mining and storage data centers never flickered. That was my first experience that when it comes to oil, gas, electricity, and data centers, people really don't matter. 8 months later, November 2021, I moved to Wisconsin. Call it the northern migration, cooler temps, water abundance, stewards of the land, and cows. I found my forever home. I started a hiking group. I rescued a dog. I learned to sail. Life was good, and for the first time in my life, I was content. Did I mention I moved to Fort Washington? It happened fast. At the first announcement that a data center was being considered, the mayor said, "This is one step of 1,000." Shortly after that, we were told it was a done deal and there was nothing we can do to change it. We were all in stunned shock. As the renderings of the proposed facility were released, the scope and scale was just not huge. It was a city unto itself. We fought valiantly, but the contracts were drawn, deals were made, shovels went in the ground on November 2025. The project started unraveling from the get-go. For a $15 billion project, it seemed like it was being run by amateurs. Permitting took longer than expected. They were a month behind schedule. Hours would have to be adjusted to make up time. Originally, Vantage wanted construction hours of 8 to 6:30 p.m., 5 days a week. The mayor gratuitously gave them 6 to 8:30 every day, Monday through Saturday. He said, they are farmers, they are used to it, they're early risers. We gasped. Did I mention I live a half mile from the data center? A half mile. Vantage then came back in a planning commission meeting that they wanted 24 hours, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 8:30, Saturdays and Sundays, almost non-stop construction. The mayor laughed mockingly as he approved the scheduling, saying, they're used to seasonal harvesting equipment late at night. He did offer to the media outlets that he would adjust the hours if there were complaints. More than once, construction workers broke curfew and they went 24/7. After 4 months of pleading, begging, yelling, and a huge push from media outlets, the mayor finally relented, and on April 18th was the last day of 24-hour construction. It took 4 months. Although there was a mention that they can add or adjust in the future should the need arise, our hours are now 6 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Sundays are off unless there are special circumstances. I'm going to highlight the daily occurrence with construction. The data center is located in the town of Port Washington. It is on 2,000 acres, which is 2/3 the total of the town land. This was annexed to the city. 2 phases are planned. Phase 1 is 672 acres. Phase 2 is set-aside acres for construction in 3 to 5 years. We currently have 500 to 700 workers on site. None live on the property. In May, that number will increase to peak of 5,000 workers plus. The population of the town of Port is 1,432 residents. We still, to this day, do not know where the main camp will be located. As of now, 6 unions are represented, 1 from the state of Wisconsin, the others are from other states, mostly from the South. Noise. I don't know how we made it through the 24-hour construction period with our sanity intact. The continuous beep, 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 and the backing up of trucks, the slamming of tailgates after every dump, jake braking, roar of motors grinding and scraping, and the vibrations were felt in your plumbing when they drilled the pylons in. It's a relentless roar that amplifies with the wind direction. This time of year, it's nice to sit outside and listen to the spring birds and the peepers. Not anymore. We have no idea how this is going to affect the bird migratory routes. Dust. There was a short period this winter where it dried off with no snow cover. The ensuing dust rolls covered houses, cars, sidewalks, driveways. It entered through your HVAC system and recirculated through your house. This is not just dirt dust. It's lime kill dust, and cement, fly ash, stabilization powder used for temporary construction roads. Super abrasive, can etch paint, and turns into a paste that clings to everything. We don't know what it's doing to our lungs. It's been wet for many months. What's going to happen when it's hot and dry for long periods? The traffic. The town of Port is a farm-to-market roads, paved but not paint stripings, no shoulders, a country road. Grid patterns are about mile sections. From start to finish of a day, hundreds of dump trucks are going to be back and forth to the site and back. Almost nonstop trucks with no gaps in between. Lately, we have included cement trucks by the hundreds. Logistically, no one seemed to take into account school buses, mail delivery, garbage trucks, commuters, or emergency equipment. It averages 7 minutes to go 1 mile in any direction during shift work changes or heavy deliveries of steel. Gridlock can be 25 to 40 minutes. How do you schedule around that? Road damage. Most roads surrounding the data center have immense damage, and this is not exclusive to Port Washington. Towns as far as 40 miles away have seen surges in truck traffic throughout their districts, and they are suffering as well. Road closures are usually unannounced and frequent, and sometimes long in duration. The preferred route takes us 7 miles out of our way every time we leave the house. Road debris is becoming a major issue. Most of these trucks are hauling uncovered loads of gravel and rock and taking out dirt. Roads are covered in mud. Any mist or rain or drizzle turns the road into skating rinks. They did bring in a street sweeper, but the 5-mile-per-hour speed created dangerous passing conditions. Shattered, chipped windshields happen all the time. Unless you have a license plate number, you cannot file a claim. Most license plates on the trucks are covered in mud. Courtesy. The mayor set the stage early, pitting unions against the residents. Told them that our pushback on the data center was threatening their jobs. So road rage is a thing. Drivers act like teenagers on Red Bull. Too fast, too reckless. County police will finally have to be brought in to check their speeds, their loads, and their safety equipment. All the county taxpayers are paying for this. Again, we only have 500 on site, 5,000 are coming. Lights. During the 24-hour construction, we renamed our town Land of the Midnight Sun. It was brighter than a full moon every night. My outside street lamp went out, and I never even noticed it. All the lights are attached to a diesel generator, so over 300 diesel generators are running when they are lit. As of now, they have security lighting, which is still very noticeable, but it has improved. This is just the start of it for us. We're only 5 months in. We have years to go. Our future with Vantage is uncertain, and it's clear that they do not have our best interests and concerns on their radar. Residents on the outskirts of the data center are now burdened with the processing and cost of establishing baseline testing for water, air, and noise. The water testing alone is $810 a year, every year. From now on, it's dismaying to note that all Vantage has to do is pay the fines if they exceed the limits. There is no guarantee they will do anything to limit or contain the problem they have created. They have no accountability. Thank you, Mayor of Wisconsin Rapids and Council, for balancing your views by attending this community informational event on data centers.
Powerful story. It's really hard to listen to. My own personal house is less than a half mile from where they're planning on building this, so it's hard to hear. But important, again, to hear it so that we understand, so that we can ask the right questions, so we can fight back, so we can educate our neighbors and our community and try to keep growing and demand that they listen to us. We haven't lost this fight yet, you know? We have not. I'm ad-libbing for just a second, but you know, their original plan was to have shovels in the ground and trees cleared last December. Well, here we are. It's July 2026, and they still have not even gotten permits yet. So that is the power of people. That's the power of the group. That's the power of coming together collectively with each and everyone's individual knowledge. Nobody does this, by themselves. It's each one of these parts. It's listening to all these different things, geologists, comedians, every people who have lived next to them, like listening and understanding and then growing your knowledge base. And so we've been really lucky to have some really, really smart people on our team to find these different niches to stop the permitting that they were trying to do and demand responsible action. So anyway, finally, our last speaker tonight, and we will try to wrap this up, is Alex Morisseau. Alex is a lifelong water protector. We need her and more. She has volunteered her time since she was 10 years old to bring awareness to the public of industrial developments harming the land, the water, and the public's well-being. This passion for environmental advocacy is rooted in her Anishinaabe teachings she carries with her. These teachings are then honored through her education by pursuing a degree in public health and social science data analytics as a full-time student at the University of Minnesota, Duluth. Welcome, Alex.
Bonjour, Minawada Nindigenous Cause, Nindudam Name, Ninduji, Wana Dawanong, Eya Gamishkwebi Kong. My name is Alex Morisseau, and I'm a student at the University of Minnesota, Duluth, where I study public health, and I have a minor in social science data analytics. I am Anishinaabe from Couchiching First Nation in Treaty 3 in Ontario, and from the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa in Wisconsin. My name means to follow the water trail. My clan is the Sturgeon. Among our people, the Sturgeon clan carries the responsibility of leadership through wisdom and knowledge. I've always understood my name to remind me that following the water trail means helping guide others towards health, balance, and well-being. I try to honor my name, my clan, and my spiritual responsibilities through my education and through the work I do to protect our communities. So Miigwech for allowing me to speak today. As a public health student and as someone native to this land, I have learned that our environment is not separate from our health. It's the very foundation of it. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the plants that provide medicine, and the animals that sustain us all determine whether our communities thrive. Public health teaches this through science. Our ancestors have always taught this through our way of life. For us, protecting the environment has never been about politics. It's about protecting life. In 2013, when I was 10, Gogebic Tech and I proposed the massive 4-mile-long open-pit iron ore mine in the Pinocchio Hills of northern Wisconsin. Many people saw economic development. Our people saw something else. We saw the risk of toxic mine trailings, polluted waterways, and the destruction of the Bad River watershed. That is home to our sacred Manuman, our wild rice beds that have sustained Anishinaabe people for countless generations. But our people stood together. Water protectors, tribal leaders, elders, youth, scientists, and allies came together because we understood that once clean water is poisoned, it cannot simply be replaced. In March of 2015, Gogebic Taconite abandoned its plans, and that victory taught me something that I've carried ever since. When we stand together with our relatives and our allies, our voices can protect future generations. Just 1 year later, when I was 13 years old, I traveled to Standing Rock to stand against the Dakota Access Pipeline. At 10 years old, I didn't fully understand what it meant to defend our homelands. Standing Rock changed that forever. I witnessed water protectors with bruises from rubber bullets. I saw people suffering from hypothermia after being sprayed with water cannons during freezing temperatures. I saw elders praying while militarized police stood before them. I realized that protecting water should never require to endure violence. But I also witnessed something far greater. I witnessed ceremonies, songs, prayers, and acts of kindness. People traveled from every direction to protect a river that many of them would never even drink from. They came because they understood a simple truth, that water is life. That movement reminded the world that Indigenous people have never stopped protecting these lands. And since then, Line 5 continues to threaten our water. The 645-mile pipeline carries more than 500,000 barrels of crude oil and natural gas liquids every single day from Superior, Wisconsin to Sarnia, Ontario. If it were to rupture, it would devastate the Bad River watershed and eventually reach Lake Superior, one of our largest sources of fresh water on Earth. Again, we ask ourselves asking the same questions. How much risk are we willing to accept in exchange for economic development? However, today we are addressing a new battle, the proposed construction of large data centers in Minnesota. Companies like Google present these developments as investments in our future, but we must also ask, at what cost? These facilities require enormous quantities of water for cooling. They consume staggering amounts of electricity, and they create constant industrial noise and permanently transform the landscapes around them. As Minnesotans, we must ask whether development truly supports the long-term health of our communities. But as Anishinaabe people, we ask another question. How will this affect the land that has cared for us since time immemorial? How will this affect the water that future generations have every right to inherit? As someone who's watched these battles unfold throughout my childhood, I'll admit that I feel anger. But not because I oppose progress, because I continue to see the decisions made without respect to the land, the water, and the wildlife. Still, my teachings remind me that anger alone cannot guide us. Love for the land must guide us. One of our teachings is that the earth is not a resource to be owned. She's our first mother. Water is not a commodity. Water is a living relative. When we offer tobacco before gathering medicines, when we pray before harvesting manumin, when we think of the fish after a successful catch, we are acknowledging a relationship built on reciprocity. The land gives to us, and our responsibility is to give back. Our ancestors teach us that every being has a spirit: the rocks, the trees, the rivers, the winds, the birds, and the medicines. Even the smallest living things have purpose. And when one part of creation is harmed, every other part feels that loss. And that understanding is reflected in Anishinaabe teaching of living a good life. You see, living well is not measured by wealth or consumption. It's measured by how well we fulfill our responsibilities to one another and to creation. We are also guided by the 7 generations teachings. We honor the sacrifices and wisdom of the 7 generations who came before us. And at the same time, every decision we make, we should consider those who will live as 7 generations after us. Now, when we ask whether a project should move forward, we should ask, will our grandchildren thank us? Will the river still be clean? Will the wild rice still grow? Will the fish still return? Will our children inherit a healthier world that we once received? Education is one of our strongest forms of protection. Every student, every scientist, every elder, every knowledge keeper, and every community member has something to contribute. Western science gives us data. Traditional ecological knowledge gives us generations of observation, relationship, and wisdom. These ways of knowing do not compete with one another. Together they make us stronger. That is why we must continue learning. We must continue asking difficult questions. And we must continue listening to Indigenous voices. And when the health of our communities is threatened, we must continue standing together. No one protects the water alone, and no one protects the land alone. We do it together. Now, I'd like to leave you with some words from Anishinaabe scholar Basil Johnston in his passage, The Order of Things. He reminds us that our ancestors understood the relationship in creation exists in... He reminds us that our ancestors understood that everything in creation exists in relationship. The Creator first made the heavens, the earth, the rocks, the waters, and the grasses. Then came the plants, then the animals, and finally came human beings. Everything depends upon what came before. Plants depend on water, earth, and sky. Humans and animals depend upon plants for food, shelter, medicine, and spiritual well-being. Our ancestors believed that every part of creation carries spirit. Even valleys, forests, meadows, rivers, and hills possess their own living presence. Johnson writes that if we destroy or remove part of that living world, the spirit of that place changes forever. I believe those words are as true today as they were 50 years ago. When we damage a river, we do not simply lose water, we lose a relationship. When we destroy a forest, we do not simply lose trees, we lose medicines, homes for wildlife, clean air, and pieces of ourselves. Our ancestors understood that something that modern society often forgets. We do not belong to the earth. We belong to the earth. The earth does not belong to us. So today I ask all of us, students, leaders, scientists, policymakers, corporations, and community members, to choose responsibility over convenience, to choose wisdom over short-term profit, and to choose relationships over exploitation. And stay educated, stand together, protect our water, protect our land, and protect one another. Because the decisions we make today will echo through the next 7 generations. Miigwech.
So wonderful and powerful, all of our speakers tonight. I think we're running late. We want to respect your time, so I'm gonna do the closing, and then we'll do some Q&A. So people, if you need to leave, please feel free to do so. Just do so as quietly and respectfully as you can. And then if you want to stay for the Q&A, because people did submit questions, and we want to respect that as much as we can. So. So interesting, Alex. I had no idea what you were going to say, but this was my closing. As we wrap up tonight, if you're looking again for ways to help or become more involved, please reach out to the STOP group on their website or Facebook page, comment on environmental assessments, write letters to your elected officials, call them. Tell them. Reach out to your community leaders. Attend local city council meetings, county board meetings, public utility meetings. They might not want to listen, but you can, make them listen. Show them your face. Make them look at you. Make them hear you, and keep doing it until they do. But. In closing, we want to leave you with the 7th generation principle. And I know Alex already said a little bit, but if you're unfamiliar, the seventh generation principle is an indigenous philosophy attributed to the Iroquois that mandates current community leaders and individuals to ensure their decisions result in a sustainable, thriving world for descendants 7 generations into the future. The core tenets and applications of this philosophy include: 1, long-term accountability. Leaders are guided to cast aside individual self-interest and consider how present-day choices, land use, and policies will impact those who have not yet been born. 2nd, interconnectedness. It recognizes a continuum between the past, the present, and the future, respecting the 7 generations before us while planning for the 7 generations to come. Stewardship of land and water. It forms the basis of strong environmental protection and ecological sustainability. Resources are treated as something to be carefully stewarded rather than exploited for short-term profit. And finally, cultural continuity. Beyond the environment, the principle directs communities to fiercely protect their languages, ceremonies, and cultural practices to ensure they are passed to intact to future generations. We want to thank Charlie Berens again and our wonderful panel. Be sure to catch Charlie again when he will be providing us some much needed comic relief right back here at the deck, Saturday, October 10th, 2026. Buy your tickets. He did not ask me to say that, I promise. Nobody did, but he deserves it, so we'll be there. We also we want to send our heartfelt thoughts and support to those fighting the wildfires in northern Minnesota right now. So at this time, if you need to, please feel free to leave.
I have a question.
Yes.
Isn't the environmental review comments due on the 16th?
Yes, 16th? I know, we know. Or I know some people in this room know the exact date. So there's an updated AUAR, that's the alternative area assessment. It's the environmental assessment that they're doing instead of a full EIS. So the city of Hermantown has opened it up again. This is your opportunity to provide comments to what they're saying the environmental impacts will be, and they are supposed to be required to respond to you, each and one of you individually. We have gone through this before. Do we have the book of the AUAR book? Oh. Anyway, it's about this thick. If you haven't seen it, it's back there. That's how big they want the people of Hermantown to understand the impact of this and go through it and then respond to them with questions. So you could just even tell them how ridiculous that is, in my opinion. Anyway, so yes, that date's coming up. We always publish dates of commentary for transmission lines, all sorts of things. So again, follow the group. Tons of information, gives you ideas of things to say, things like that. All right. Thank you again, and then we'll go to some questions, Sarah. Yeah, that'll do great.
All right. Do you want to grab that and just hand it down? Sure. All right. Hi, I'm Sarah. I am a resident of Hermantown, and I have just been kind of helping gather some of your questions that you guys have submitted online. One of the first questions that I've seen quite a few from different people is the difference between an AUAR, the area-wide, alternative urban area-wide review, and an EIS, which is an environmental impact statement. So if anybody can kind of explain the basic difference between the two.
So the environmental impact statement is what I mentioned earlier. You would be required to do if you were bringing in a regular business and putting it of that size with that kind of processes of water and power. And a lot of it has to do with whether or not there's any federal funding, if there's any federal agencies involved. We know that Army Corps of Engineers has jurisdiction, or they're determining right now, but they should have jurisdiction over the wetlands. You've also got the endangered species, which links you into the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, among other things. So a full environmental impact statement should be done, but these are being fast-tracked. So a lot of times they're being fast-tracked before the agencies even respond fully. And so questions should be made to those agencies saying, hey, if you don't have jurisdiction here, well, then maybe those other permits that other businesses have been having to go through aren't necessary anymore, right? I mean, you can't have it both ways. So it's a much more significant study, and the EIS takes years. It usually takes 1 to 2 years. They have to look into a lot of different details. It costs a lot of money, and that's the kind of thing that probably would make a developer walk away. So anyway, just something to keep in mind.
Thank you very much. Quite a few questions coming through about realistically what the lifespan of a data center is, and what happens to them after they become obsolete.
Bowling alleys. Which would be kind of awesome, honestly. If they just want to build it half the size, is 16-foot bowling, I don't know, or 600-yard bowling, that would be great. I should not be talking right now.
He had a better answer than I do, honestly. They're not talking about this. So when they put in a solar field or something like that, they usually will, like in those cases, oftentimes, and I don't know if it's the same here, but down in Wisconsin, they'll just rent the land for solar fields, and then it goes back to the farmer in like 17 years, and I do not know how they came up with the 17 years. But in this case, they're not talking about what they're going to do at the end. If you put a gravel pit in, you have to have a reclamation plan, right? So they should be coming up with, what are you going to do when this is done? When these, we all know that the computers, I literally had the Fortran computer in college with little cards with the little holes in it. None of you know what I'm talking about. But a few of you, okay, great. You remember that? And if you didn't number them and you dropped them, it was bad. So, we know that our computers have now gone down in size, right? These data centers, if they do their job, they're going to eventually need a lot less space because we're getting more and more sophisticated. I'm also hearing that other countries are able to do it so much better than us with so much less room, but it costs more. But they're putting their resources in the right place. So that's a question to ask, and really it should be a demand. So.
I'm going to just share briefly a term that was suggested over the weekend. So I met with somebody who was working with Ryan Company. So Ryan Company, if folks don't know, is the developer for the Pine Island, the other Google proposed hyperscale data center development in the state of Minnesota. And this individual had interacted with Ryan Company. He's Twin Cities based. And he used the term pulled from the air. And I was like, and then I said, can I use that? And he said, oh, yeah, this is a Ryan Company phrase. And he said, PFA. And I was like, there's an abbreviation for this. And he said, oh, yeah, pulled from the air. And that's what I think happened in this case. I'm sorry. I diverge, but pulled from the air, you can use it. It's a real phrase, developer phrase. Are you sure it's air? Yeah, pulled from the air. Yeah. Yeah. PFA.
I could think of a different word that A could stand for.
I appreciate you.
Charlie, I'm actually the comedian up here, so I need you to stay back. All right. On just continuing on to hyperscale data centers, lots of people were asking, what are they actually used for, and how do we know that this project is going to be used for, or what they're assuming it's being told that it's being used for?
So, my knowledge, which is very limited in this area, but I was working for a large consulting firm about 6 months ago, and the consulting firm was doing work, some of the geotechnical testing and things like that for data centers in Kansas, and my understanding was large government contracts are coming out, and they're going to be for these, I don't know if it's going to be for like the Starlink, all these satellites, and they're going to have to store the data somewhere. Or somebody mentioned something about all the cameras on the highways, and they have to keep all that data. So it's really government contracts. This isn't your and my, GPT use. It's these government contracts that are coming out, and Prescott talks a little bit about the bubble, where there's really only a small number of data centers that are needed, but there's this huge bubble of what's being built because you've got 5 companies, right? Meta, Google, Amazon, yada yada. They're putting together. They're all trying to build these. If you build them, they will come idea, and they want these large government contracts. And so 1, maybe 2 companies are going to get those government contracts, and then they'll be situated to have these data centers in place. So the question is, what in the world is going to happen with the other 3 companies that built these, and now they aren't needed? They'll probably get a little bit here and there, but so I don't have the straight answer. And
one thing to pay attention to is how the terms and conditions on all the apps change. There's a lot more of like, do you allow, like Instagram to use your whole photo library? So then they ingest that whole library. And the tracking of everything you do with your phone, everywhere you take it, a lot of that stuff. So if you really read those terms and conditions that nobody reads, I think you can see that where a lot of data comes from, and they do start to kind of roll those out. If you read emails that get sent from like, I don't know what one of these tech companies, you'll say we've updated our terms, and if you go read those terms, you'll see that they're taking more data and also the user stuff, because you got to think about how do you monetize all of this data. It's a good question. Why are these so big? That's because data is money. They can use that data to sell you stuff, and the more data they have, the more that they can sell. So they are selling the data. We're like the cows, and the milk is our data. So that analogy needs work too, but you get what I'm saying.
To kind of embellish that one too, with how can we know that they're using, or what this data center is being told? We're being told that the data center will do certain things. How will we know? Will we know at all? Okay. It's a resounding no. So I have a little bit of experience with that. There's really nothing holding Google to anything that they tell us. And there's no way that we're really going to know because it's all going to be considered private. It's going to be considered a trade secret. So they could tell us pretty much kind of whatever they want, and we're never going to really have the ability to know that they're telling us the truth. Anything you guys want to continue on that? Okay. Yep. So just to talk to on a more local level, there were quite a few questions about NDAs, which is a non-disclosure agreement. Do we know, has any city officials or surrounding area officials signed these NDAs regarding this particular site?
Is that wow? So what we do know, and the community knows, thanks to a Duluth Monitor article, is that 22 NDAs were signed in St. Louis County. It includes 3 St. Louis County commissioners. I think we're all aware of that. What we might not be aware of or fully appreciating is other confidentiality agreements from landowners that also sort of prevented, right, the Adolph neighborhood from really knowing the truth. Those confidentiality agreements exist to this day. Not included in the 22 count, per my understanding, are the two City of Hermantown staff that signed the NDA. And I see some head nods out there. I think there's other experts that have more expertise in this than I do. But the two staff that signed the NDA, so that was the communication director and then the city administrator. And then we also have like maybe the water board as well. Yeah, the WLSSD. And that I don't believe was included in the Monitor article. So
And just so everybody knows, what is WLSSD?
that's the water treatment facility in city of Duluth. So Duluth would be trading the data center water from city of Hermantown.
All right, and one last question. A lot of people are asking, what do we do now? What is your advice for the community looking ahead beyond just a moratorium? What can we offer advice to other communities that are dealing with this, or it may be coming their direction?
I don't know. Yeah. Does Charlie want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, to other communities, I think it's get involved early, treat the elected officials like your neighbors. This is a very complicated technology. I mean, it's so complicated. Like, everybody up here has a full-time job, and we're trying to do your best. So with the elected officials, they got another job, too. A lot of times, they're not making a lot of money doing this. They're doing their other job, which is wild that you put those folks up against the best attorneys and used car salesmen in the world, and they can kind of steamroll over. So I think just treat the elected officials with respect, know that they're learning too. The last thing you want to do is have a public official attach their pride to something like this because people weren't being nice to them. It really happens. So just treat them like your brother, like your friend, and then, yes. That was all I had. No, you didn't cut me off. Yeah. No, but that was a nice ope there, though. That was nope, I cut you off. I like that.
Ope. Sorry, Charlie. All right, another thing is attend your meetings. Even if they don't have it on the agenda and you think something might be coming, have someone attend those meetings because somebody might ask a question, you might get a little bit of information. Butts in seats is important. And if you have some decisions being made, fill that room. Let them know you care. Because if they just see a few people, they're going to be like, oh, nobody cares. In our area, we had we had a lot of data center signs that were in the city of Beloit, and the project is in the town of Beloit. And one of the officials was overheard saying, well, I don't see that many signs in the town of Beloit, so I'm not too worried. So that weekend, the group went out and canvassed, and trust me, there were tons of signs in the town of Beloit by that Monday. But it's really important to just let your voice be heard. And as Charlie mentioned, that they're hearing, a lot of times these officials are hearing stuff from the developers, and they're not factual, maybe they're half facts, maybe they're just giving them a little synopsis, and they're led to believe it. So give them a little bit of room and be cordial and say, like, let's help them help you, right? Give them the questions to ask the developer. Let them help you help yourself. And so and just stay involved. Reach out to others when you see it coming to other areas. Don't be afraid to step in and help them out. And together as a community, like you're so strong, as you mentioned. It really makes a difference when you're coming at it in strength of numbers.
Yeah. Clarissa wants the mic back. I was just thinking that it would be nice to have a city council meeting in here because we could actually show how many individuals. Yeah, we've got this overflow room. I agree. I've got ideas. Oh my. Okay, Clarissa's going to wrap
I would
up.
love to stay all night, but if anybody remembers, it's like 2 a.m. and you have to leave. So, the bar. Anyway, please thank, there's a production team that's been making this put all together, all volunteers, all the production team. Everyone here all of you. Thank you for your time tonight. I was told to remind you again that if you want more information, go to our website, stopthehermandatacenter.org, and then there's a way to email us and continue to get information from us. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Get home safe.